One, start streaming. Hey everybody, welcome to Kingdom of Honor on your special Sunday edition. I'm your host, Zanman Shane Sabuni, along with my good buddy, the Honorable Jeff, here to
Hello.
talk about the biggest dynamite of all time from this past Wednesday. Winter is coming. And I don't know if about you, Jeff, but that annoyed the shit out of me that they kept calling it that.
They might have
And
been
and,
right.
we kind of found out at the end why they were calling it that. But I mean, for
Right.
them to call it that the entire episode, it's just another way of them telling the audience that they knew something more, that we didn't know.
Yeah, that's true. That
We didn't know Sting was going to arrive, and we didn't know there was going to be an Impact and AEW crossover. So
which I love all of it. I'm confused about Sting though. Like, uh, what is Sting's role going to be? Is he somebody who's actually going to be an in-ring performer? Is he a manager? He's got a multi-year contract. There was something kind of surreal about hearing Tony Schiavone scream, "It's Sting!" Um, that harken back to the glory days of wrestling and all. But I just don't know where this payoff's going to go. I really don't.
yeah, I don't either. And my buddy James texted me that night, after it was over, and said, "How do you feel about Sting in AEW?" I'll tell you like what I told him in just a second here. But one thing I really thought was, and that I included in my tweet was, I'm glad that Darby got that rub from him, but I don't think Cody needed it. So, um, and I don't think we're actually going to get like Cody versus Sting, or Dustin versus Sting, or Darby versus Sting, or um, Brian Cage versus Sting. So I don't know that he can be anything more than a manager, or a figurehead. But and then and of course Cody's faction already has um, Arn Anderson, so why would they even need him to be a manager for them?
Right.
And I don't even know how, and when you really think about his career, he never was the best guy in the mic. He never was the best guy cutting a promo. He was never really the best guy standing side by side with somebody at ringside. So I really don't know where he would fit in those places. I mean, he could maybe like be an ambassador type guy for them and come out, and maybe he could be like a GM type figure, which I think he did for Impact for a while, right? Um, but I don't know that he could really. And I'd love to see him, in a match here and there. I mean, I really would. I mean, I watched that, and here I'll tell you like what else I said to James is that I'm watching it and I'm like, what? That's awesome, and then I started thinking about it, like, wait, why am I happy? He's an old guy that's showing up and possibly taking this spot from a young guy. And then I thought, you know what, it's Sting. I don't care. Why do I have to be a smark all the time? I'm a wrestling fan, and it excited me that he showed up there. I think the same way a lot of people in the crowd did. As I was excited to see him. I really was.
Yeah, there was a lot of excitement with it, and it like I said, there was that surreal moment when you got Tony Schiavone screaming that Sting's here. Um, that was really cool. But again, it's for me, it's like running Ric Flair out there at this point. I love to see him out there, but at the same time, what's he gonna do? I don't even know. Can he even wrestle anymore after his broken neck? Can he take bumps?
He can't take bumps, no. So I mean,
So
theoretically he could wrestle, but he couldn't really take any moves. He'd have to basically like be in squash matches, or I heard that or I read a rumor that he one reason he left WWE is they wouldn't allow him to have like cinematic type matches. So he might be in that same kind of role that Matt Hardy's been in. You
okay.
know.
Well, because I know, is this another Bret Hart back to WWF situation? Are they going to have a horrible match like Bret and Vince had, or is he just going to, like you said, he's never been good on the mic. It's not like he's Arn Anderson or Jake Roberts. He's not going to be able to, uh, you know, cut a promo to send chills down everybody's spine.
Right.
He's and with his character, I mean, his character, except for that 1 year that he was kind of the Joker in TNA, and then of course his um, main event Mafia run.
Hmm.
he's never really been the kind of character that talks a lot anyway.
Right.
Well, not since '97 anyway.
Right. Exactly.
So, I mean, before then, the bleach blonde surfer dude, he did cut a few promos, but '80s wrestling promos is a whole lot different than what you need to have today.
Yeah. No, he would just scream in the microphone and that kind of thing, and then he'd be off to his match. That was all it was.
Right. So
Um,
it just, as a wrestling fan, it was a cool experience. It was, but as a, you know, I don't know if I want to call myself an analyst or not, but I guess that's essentially what we're doing. I don't, I don't like it because it's just another nostalgia act being run out.
yeah.
Another,
I
because this is different than like a Jake Roberts. Jake Roberts, yeah, nostalgia act because everyone remembers, how frightening he is just on the mic and everything. But he's also still out there cutting promos and being a pretty damn good manager. Same thing with Arn. Same thing with Taz. They're nostalgia acts, but they serve a purpose. This is just a nostalgia act to be a nostalgia act.
as far as we can tell so far, we don't know what's going to happen. So I mean, we're
That is true.
we're passing early judgment on it, but like you said, I mean, it was exciting to see him out there. If he's in there with in matches that he can do with guys like MJF and Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara, and he's putting those young guys over, I won't have a problem with it whatsoever.
I
You
think the
know,
pairing of him and Darby would be really cool.
yeah, I think so too. I mean, if he were, and maybe that's the mentor type guy Darby needs, not Taz, not Cody, but Sting.
Right.
You know,
Well, and the thing with Darby Allin too is it's really weird that Darby comes out of just that little moment better off because all they did was have a little stare down.
yeah.
It's not like there was anything that was really done.
No, but it was a clear respect that Sting had for Darby. I think that's really going to help push him forward.
Right, exactly. And so he got that rub from Sting without really having to do anything, which was also a cool moment because you don't get that. There's I can't think of another wrestler out there that could give that kind of rub without saying a word.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
I
Well,
even
I no, I no, I think Undertaker probably could do it too.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Probably Undertaker, but you're not going to get that out of a Hogan or a Flair even, or Bret Hart or anyone like that. They're not going to be able just to walk out there, stare at you, and you come out the other side better.
You think Hogan or Flair could even keep their mouths shut for 10 seconds?
Oh God, no, no. I don't even think Bret could at this point. Um, but yeah,
No, yeah, you're right. He'd be out there saying, that, I did my best, but that was a 4 out of 10 segment.
right, right, right. But yeah, that was a good moment. I still the thing at the end, I did get a little bit irritated with the announcers going off about Kenny using the microphone, how he broke his own gentleman's agreement. I
Right
felt,
after Moxley had hit the paradigm shift through the table on the outside and the barricade on the outside.
yeah,
Yeah,
and when they kept calling him, oh, he's a piece of crap because he broke his own agreement and everything. But wait a minute, Moxley broke it first,
yeah, exactly.
and
That's how
all
that's how I felt too.
and all that Kenny really did was hit him with an object that was a padded microphone. So it's not like it was him bashing him over the head with a chair.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's yeah, that was clear double standard to me. Where, I mean, just because Moxley did it on the out, I mean, is really the difference that Moxley did it on the outside and Kenny did it inside the ring?
Love you too, boo.
I mean, that's the only difference between the two of them. You know,
Yeah,
and like you said, what Moxley did was actually more violent than what Kenny did.
and Moxley was more violent throughout the entire match. I
Yeah,
mean, a
absolutely.
gentleman's agreement. They never should have been outside the ring in the first place. They never should have been
Right.
throwing each other into barriers and all that stuff. It was supposed to be a gentleman's agreement, pure wrestling match, basically.
Yep.
And it broke down right from the start. And that was the one thing I hated about this entire show was the fact that they kept screaming about how Kenny's a dirtbag because he broke the gentleman's agreement, and And then the whole Don Callis thing at the end was just an overbooked mess. Um,
Oh, I thought it was great.
I
I thought it was, it said, and the only thing that I don't like about it is that Impact's on Tuesdays and Dynamite's on Wednesdays, and we can't see Dynamite until it's on the app, which is usually like on a Friday or Saturday. So we're not going to know. So we're gonna kind of coming unless we can like find something on YouTube or somewhere that they or maybe like on what's that other thing that I'm trying to think of the other streaming site where we can maybe like try to find it to watch it before Dynamite. We're not going to know what happened until they actually show it on Dynamite, unless we read about it, of course. But we're not going to able to actually see it.
wonder
You know what
if
I'm saying?
Access is on Hulu.
I don't think they are. I was also wondering if maybe they would stream it like on their website or something.
Well, I mean, it's going to be recapped on AEW. So,
That's I know, but to see it live would be nice.
oh yeah,
Or
absolutely.
and especially if something like Sammy comes out there and confronts them. I mean, Sammy versus Kenny would just be amazing.
There's so much greatness that we have in store for us, like the Bucks versus Motor City Machine Guns, FTR versus Motor City Machine Guns. There's just so much that
FTR versus the North.
oh my God, there's so much greatness. So much greatness. And it's about time. It's about time a big American company actually has a working agreement with a smaller company. I mean, you can say, yeah, WWF and ECW did back in '97, but was that really anything? It was just ECW showing up on WWF TV a couple times.
Right.
There was really no matches. There was really no feuds. There was um, nothing that came out of it. And of course, WWF didn't go back the other way.
And if egos hadn't gotten in the way, I mean, really, what should have been happening all these years, Jeff, is that TNA/Impact and ROH should have been working together this entire, you know, 17 years.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I
But they
agree.
but they got but they got in that pissing contest about um, Roderick Strong and Austin Aries and Sanjay Dutt, and it was basically and AJ Styles, and it was basically like they had to choose where they wanted to work because TNA wanted to sign them to exclusive deals. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Yeah,
So.
and then it got to be terrible. I mean, there for a while it was a lot of fun seeing them, you know, since they were independent contractors being able to work for Ring of Honor. But once yeah, you're right. Once they started saying, "Hey, we need exclusive contracts so we can run with WWF," it became a mess.
Yeah. So I mean, we kind of stopped watch. We kind of started and then stopped watching 2005, early 2006 TNA, and that's really the last time we're going to see Austin Aries or Roderick Strong in TNA till like 2012. Well, for Aries till like 2012 because they didn't want to keep him, let him work for both promotions.
Yeah, and wasn't he the champ of Ring of Honor during that time, or was it a
He
little bit later?
it's this is a little bit later because he had lost the title um to CM Punk, or no, to I'm sorry, to was it yeah, well, I think it was to Punk, um, or maybe it was to Homicide. I can't remember. But he had lost it like summer of 2005 or something. So.
Okay. Yeah, all in all, I thought this was a good episode. I am happy that they held the Bucks match off. I was worried that they were going to end up throwing that on there too. So it's nice to give us something to look forward to next week
Hmm.
because I don't know. It doesn't feel like the storyline is going to include Moxley going forward. This Kenny Omega storyline.
Well, maybe it may or may not, but and I kind of hope it doesn't because we're kind of in the camp of, once a champion loses a title, he should somebody else should step up to be the next challenger. Um, and I think that's what we love so much about the booking in like Ring of Honor and New Japan and what AEW really has done so far because when Jericho lost his title, he didn't get a rematch. You
Didn't he?
know,
I thought he. No, you're right. He didn't get a rematch, did he?
right? And when Hangman and and Omega lost the titles.
They just went their separate
They
ways.
went their separate ways, even though Hangman tried to keep the team together.
Right.
Cody got a rematch for his title because he's fucking Cody. But otherwise, and but like Rio never got a rematch for her title. It took what 4 or 5 months for Nyla Rose to get a rematch for her title, right?
Right.
So I mean,
Something like
so I
that.
mean, they're really I think they booked like the way that we'd like to see, where it's not like these constant rematches going on.
Yeah, and they don't have the trinity of matches. I mean, the closest they came to it was the Kingston Moxley.
Right.
But that was just two matches. It was nice to see Moxley do something that was an actual match because, like I said, that was probably the first actual wrestling match he's had since he's been in the company. Um, but how does that look for Moxley? The first time he actually has a wrestling match, he loses. The first time.
Well, yeah, but he lost because of cheating.
But if you think about it too, it wasn't really just a wrestling match either. There was a lot of Moxley in there.
There was, and he hit the paradigm shift what 3 times, and he still couldn't beat Omega.
Right. Yeah,
He had the
which
bulldog.
was
He got the bulldog choke on him once. He still couldn't beat Omega.
yep.
So, um, and the other, and one thing that really bugged me about that match, and maybe maybe you didn't feel this way, but I felt like if this is really like your biggest title match on Dynamite, why are you having 3 commercials during it? During that, I mean, they had 1 commercial right before the match, and then 2 during the match, and that really took me out. Even though they're doing picture in picture, it still like took me out of the match that they were doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it did. And TNT has been known before to get their commercial breaks done and let it roll a full half hour. I don't know why they didn't choose to do that for this match. I really
yeah, I
think they
don't
should
either.
have.
Yeah, it really. I mean, and having one, I thought was bad enough, but then having the second one just it just really irritated me and made me think like, well, is this really that special if you're going to keep having commercials during it?
Well, yeah, and it was, and was there a single match on the entire card that didn't have commercial break?
I don't think the opening match did that battle royal.
Yeah, that's probably the only one that didn't. But that, as far as battle royals go, that was over way too quick. But I guess it's a TV battle royal, so it's not like it's going to take an hour.
I did really like the kind of the twist on the on the the guys laying outside the ring, and the people think that it's over, and it's not really over. I love that Wardlow was the guy that realized, oh wait, we're not the only 2 guys left.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because that rarely happens, and to have it be the the big bodyguard guy that realizes it, and not like the like not with the main star guy, I thought was a nice touch.
And I felt like they overdid the whole. I mean, at this point, we already know Sammy and MJF don't like each other.
Yeah.
I don't think we needed to have that whole battle royal thing to further it.
No, you don't
'Cause,
think so?
no, and I mean, the fact that it happened is fine. The fact that the announcers dwelled on it for the remainder of the match is what bugged me.
I kind of like the way they're booking it. That that MJ. I think we can tell that MJF doesn't like Sammy, but it really is Sammy that is one that's showing that he has hard feelings towards MJF. MJF is acts like he's being the peacemaker all the time.
Yeah, right. And that was the other part that I felt like was a little overdone. Like, why would Jericho assume that Sammy would be out there to throw in the towel?
Yeah.
With the history that they have, Jericho thinks it's Sammy that came out with the towel. Really? Come on. Year and a half. When has that ever happened? Ever.
Did it
So,
bug you? That's another match that kind of bugged me a little bit. Now that you mention it, did it bug you at all that Kazarian was completely dominating that match and all it took was one elbow from Jericho and that was it?
yep, yeah, that kind of bugged me too.
Okay.
There, there were just little gaps in stories here and there that bothered me. All in all, I did feel like the show was a big show, even though it was droned on and on throughout the entire thing that we were supposed to feel like it was big, but it did feel big. It's not like they didn't deliver.
I didn't think it felt big until Sting showed up.
Oh, really?
yeah. So I mean, I guess probably like, and he showed up like with like what 5 minutes into the second hour, right? So, so I guess I guess like the last hour then felt big to me, but I didn't feel like the battle royal was big. I didn't feel like the Britt Baker match was big. The I didn't feel I didn't, the Jericho and the Jericho Kazarian match. I think it would have felt bigger to me if Kazarian had actually won that match. But I mean, when you're booking like this, when you're touting it as the first time ever meeting between these two guys, and it was a good match. Don't get me wrong, but I mean when it had the predictable result to it, that didn't feel big to me.
Uh, I guess I'm not saying that every match felt like a main event match because it doesn't, not even on a pay-per-view. But when you threw in the Battle Royal, it's the first time or was that on free TV last year?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, but regardless, I mean, they threw in the Battle Royal, so that, felt like a big deal. And then they also did
Did
the
it though? Did that battle royal really feel like a big deal? Because like you said, it was over way too quick.
it was
You know,
over too
you know.
quick, but it was the fact that it was the match type, not necessarily the match itself. The match type felt like a big deal.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Do you like?
I know what you mean, but I guess I've seen enough battle royals at other wrestling programs that just having a battle royal in there didn't feel big to me.
It wasn't the fact that it was a great match. It was just the fact that it was um, a unique match that only comes around once a year because it was for the Battle Bowl ring. Um,
Yeah, but that's another argument for why you're only giving it like 15 minutes instead of like half an hour.
which their explanation of having the final two meet in an actual match, so it wasn't the payoff. This wasn't the payoff match. This was the like
No,
number
it
one
wasn't.
contender match.
But also, but the other thing with that is if you've got guys in there that you're building up strong, like you know Hangman or Matt Hardy or um, not sure who else to think throw in there, but why are they getting eliminated that quickly?
And that was another knock that I had on it is you put a guy like Page who you're trying to build into the next um, eventually is probably going to be the guy that beats Omega for the title. Uh, and when you're trying to build Page up, that's the one thing about this Page storyline that bothers me is it seems like they start to push him and then he gets thrown out right away in a battle royal.
Yeah, well,
Which
and that's right, and I'm not necessarily saying that just him getting thrown out early. I'm just saying that, why is he getting thrown out within 15 minutes?
right, why is
Or
this is supposed to be one of the big guys in your company
hmm
and he can't even make it to the final three or final
yeah, and
four or something and
and who does he get eliminated by? Matt fucking Hardy.
right.
I mean, why does Matt Hardy get wins over, get like three straight wins over Sammy Guevara, and then he also gets to eliminate Hangman Page? I mean, why are you pushing that guy to the moon so hard when he's in his, he's a instead of pushing your young guys over him? I just don't get it.
Well, I know his was a lot to solidify his heel turn. I mean, with his throwing
But
out
did
Mark.
but but did but did that really feel like a heel moment to you?
I guess, I mean, if you think about it, because Page is one of the most over guys in the company.
Right,
So,
but what did he do
no,
that was a cheating move to be a heel to get him out of there?
yeah, and that's kind of the weirdness that I had too, because it doesn't feel like his heel turn is completed. He was just a jerk and eliminated his friends.
Yeah,
You know, I see where you're coming from there, because I mean, when I'm hearing everything I read online and saw people's comments, is they were talking about, Matt Hardy's heel turn and how that was the solidification of it. But now that you mention it, is that really what did he do other than eliminate his friends?
yeah, exactly.
You
I
know,
mean, he solidified him maybe being a jerk.
right, but not necessarily a heel. And
Yeah,
his promo that he had last week was one of the better promos he's done in a while, and that was kind of a heelish. And I remember saying, I hope he stays with this character now for a while.
yeah. No, yeah, you did, and I agree with you. I just thought it was, I don't know. I, I like Matt Hardy. I just have a real problem with him being pushed over younger guys, the way that they're doing. I just don't understand it.
He never should have won the feud
Yes.
with Sammy. And I get it. The
No.
good guys are always the ones that people want to see win, and that's why he won and whatever. Yeah, I think every now and then the young up and coming heel can actually win a feud.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the last time I saw a heel actually win a feud would have been AJ against Cena.
Um, yeah, that's probably true.
Because I mean, if you think about it, all the
And he's only a really young up and coming guy because we hadn't seen him in WWE before.
right, but yeah, I mean,
I think he's actually older than Cena.
yeah, I think he is. I think because yeah, I think you're right. But when can you think of another time when a heel actually won a feud? Maybe the North in a couple of their tag team feuds.
Yeah, the North is a good example. Trying to think back. And it doesn't just even have to be them winning a feud to me. I mean, as long as if they get their big their big moment and they get more build on that moment. So I mean, I guess Evil would be a good example to me. Even though he lost a feud, technically to Naito, at least he got the victory for the title and he got one defense with it before having to drop it back to him.
And see
You know,
that would have been one I would have thrown out there, but ultimately because he lost the title back to Naito and then never got another shot.
no, he got another shot. He lost it. He lost again.
Oh, did
He
he?
beat. Remember he beat Naito in G1 and then he
Oh
got
yeah,
the
yeah. Okay,
struggle.
yep, you're right, you're
So I
right.
mean, really he's done well against Naito. He's like 2-2 against him.
But it's the fact that he still lost the feud, regardless of how you look at it. The fact
Well,
that the
a
belt
heel
is
is
back on
yeah. I mean,
Naito.
heel is usually going to eventually. I mean, eventually the good guy's always going to triumph over the heel. I don't think there's any question of.
Right.
I mean, even AJ eventually lost the title back to Cena at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, that is true. But that's what I'm saying is I think when you look at an actual feud that has its big payoff match, the heels don't win them. And that's sad. Like it would have been nice to see Sammy actually win that feud.
Yeah, I guess
But
my
ultimately
biggest
it
it
wasn't going
would
to
have been for
happen.
sure, but my biggest problem with it was that he lost both of those big matches on pay per view.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Yeah,
I mean, you knew there was no way in hell he was going to lose the final deletion match or
the
the
elite deletion.
elite deletion, yeah.
Yeah,
There was no way in
I
hell he was going to lose that.
yeah I don't remember what they called the other one. The other one I think had deletion in it also. That's why I was trying to remember which one was which. So.
Well, the one with did they do two of them in AEW or was that the only one in AEW?
That was the only cinematic match in AEW, but the one at the previous at All Out was also at deletion in the title. I'm pretty sure that was the
Oh,
one that was, that was one where he got thrown off the scaffolding out of, through the tables, and Jr. was screaming at the referee to yell when the referee was already at 5.
oh yeah, yeah. That was a hell of a moment right there.
In other wrestling news, I've actually like watched like I watched like the semifinals, the finals, and the next 2 weeks of Ring of Honor.
Okay.
And I'm really enjoying what they're doing with Matt Taven and Vincent, what they're doing with MJ with not with MJF with EC3, like you mentioned. I'd probably enjoy that. Um, Rhaegar, you hit me in the face, dumbass. Um, and I liked that Jonathan Gresham won the title and then immediately created a stable along with Jay Lethal and Tracy Williams called the Foundation.
You know,
Um,
it's nice to see
and
Tracy
and then
Williams get a rub like that.
and then surprise, surprise, I love what they're doing with Shane Taylor too.
Oh yeah, shocking. But yeah, I like this new EC3 character. Yeah,
Yeah,
I really like it.
at first when he started talking, I was like, this is a lot like CM Punk was in 2009.
Right.
But then I realized, he's not really trying to get people behind him. He's trying to actually just, he wants to be, he wants to test, the honor in the company basically.
Right. Exactly. And I like the fact I don't know how Impact lost out on him, but Ring of Honor really if this is the way he's going to be going forward, they got to steal. They literally stole EC3 from every major company out there.
Yeah, I've still got a few more weeks of their television to watch to get caught up to see how it gets set up. But that's one of the that's one of the two matches or one of the three matches they've announced now for um, Final Battle is Jay Briscoe versus EC3.
Yeah, I kind of like to see how that got set up too. That would
Yeah,
actually be nice.
The other matches they've announced are um, Brody King challenging Roosh for the world title,
Oh,
and as the 6 man champions, those I can't remember the name, the Bandito, Flamito, and whoever their third member is, defending the 6 man belts against Shade Hiller Promotions.
oh, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, that whole lifeblood thing must be over now.
yeah, and you know what? I think the foundation really is a better way to do the lifeblood thing
Right. Well, the whole
because
lifeblood thing.
you've got guys that are already established in the company, bring then with a newer a younger newer guy coming in joining them as well. You
Yeah,
know.
and the fact that it was their whole thing with lifeblood was the fact that the three of the five original members only were there for 2 weeks of TV and then never showed up again.
Yeah, they were because they were New Japan talents. Yeah.
Right. And then, well, and then Emma, whatever her name is, Tennille Dashwood, ended up leaving the company.
Right.
And then so then it was just the remaining three, which was Bandito, Williams, and Haskins. And is Haskins even still in Ring of Honor? Has he been around for a while? Or is he because of COVID still in?
I think he's still in England because of COVID, but I think he's still on the roster. He just hasn't been. He just hasn't maybe he has to come in quarantine for a couple of weeks first because um, it doesn't seem like that now he'd have to be totally excluded, does it? Not when not when we saw now and I don't know if you know this or not, Jeff, because I know you haven't been following it, but GYV showed up on NXT now, they've passed quarantine now.
Who did?
Grizzled Young Veterans.
Oh, okay. I didn't. I must be having issues with my hearing today because I didn't hear you. But GY,
I said GYV, yeah, so
yeah.
Grizzled Young Veterans.
But yeah, okay, yeah. Well, didn't Walter show up on NXT not too long
No,
ago
he's
either?
no, he's been on NXT UK, his stablemates did. The GYV actually ended up facing off against Imperium, Bartel, and what's Bartel's partner's name? I'm trying to think.
I can't remember.
I can't either, but that's who they ended up facing on NXT this week after Imperium destroyed Everrise.
Nice.
Yeah,
Well, and then didn't you say Pat McAfee's stable is still going strong?
yeah. Tonight is actually War Games. So tonight, Pat McAfee's stable is up against Undisputed Era in the War Games men's match.
So they did turn Ollie Yui face then.
Yeah, they're kind of all acting face right now. But
Well,
of
that's
course,
good.
they've only been back for 2 weeks.
But that's, I mean, that's good because that was one of the things I really didn't want to see happen was having Cole and O'Reilly as face and Fish and Strong stay heels.
Hmm.
There's such a good faction that breaking them up is just the wrong move.
Yeah, they're giving but the one thing that they are doing noticeably different is they're giving Kyle O'Reilly more mic time. Cole is still like their number one spokesman, of course,
Right.
but O'Reilly's getting more time on the mic. Roddy's getting a little bit, and then Bobby Fish maybe has like a sentence or two.
Which is, yeah, it used to be basically Cole and Roddy. And then you might get a sentence or two out of O'Reilly and Fish, but that's good to give him a little more mic time.
Yeah, because I think they're realizing what you and I realized years ago is that he does have star capability.
Yeah.
You know, and he got super over in in those 3 weeks where he was building to the number one contender spot against Finn Balor.
And it's fine that it's nice that they finally, realized that and finally took him out, which, and I will say this about NXT, they don't screw up much.
No.
They really don't. I mean, they do a good job with their talent and they do a good job of recognizing who's good and who isn't. I mean, yeah, they messed up with EC3. They never really gave him the chance he probably should have had. Um, they messed up with I can't think of the other guy. But basically everything they do though is gold. That's the thing.
Right. If I had told you at and maybe you've been like reading the spoilers or maybe you've been reading the results and you already know this, but if I had told you um, back like 6 months ago that there'd be another women's War Games match this year, which would probably be pretty obvious. And one
Right.
of the captains would be Candice LeRae. You would not have been surprised by that at all, right?
No.
But if I told you the other one was Shotzi Blackheart, I would have probably fucking blown your mind, right?
Well, yeah, because a year ago, wasn't she in Evolve still?
Um, yeah, a year ago I think she wasn't involved in Evolve still, but yeah, now she's the captain of the other team, and the world champion and the number one contender for the world title are on her team, but they're not the captains of it, which is just bizarre. you know,
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Who is the champion?
Io Shirai.
Okay. All right. And it did. Have you heard where Kairi Sane went? Did she just go back to Japan?
She's working for WWE in Japan right now. She basically had a career-threatening injury, and so
Oh,
she may not ever wrestle again.
okay. I guess I didn't realize that. I just knew that she left the company.
But she's still working like training like as like a trainer and ambassador in Japan for the
Okay.
company.
All right. Well, that makes sense. Because wasn't Nyla, not Nyla Rose, I can't remember her name now.
Nia Jax,
Nia Jax, that really messed her up with that
I think
buckle
so.
bomb.
I believe that's who it was. Yeah, yeah, that would make sense because they won the title because she and Shayna Baszler won the tag titles from them.
Right. Okay. All right. Makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of what else is going on. It's really been kind of quiet few weeks in the wrestling world. Just really
yeah,
the big news is what Kenny did.
it is, and I think we have the best of Super Juniors and World Tag League finals this week. But I haven't really been. But after those first few episodes, I was like, I'm kind of tournamented out right now. So
Yeah.
I really didn't want to.
Too many
Um,
tournaments right in a row. Like we just got
yeah,
done with the G1. And not only that, but it was what was the one before that? The New Japan Cup, didn't that just
there's the
happen too?
there's the Japan Cup. There was also the tournaments for the junior heavyweight and six-man titles.
And there was the US version of the G1 too. So
Yep.
it just I'm right there with you. I love the fact that Japan does their tournaments to determine contenders. I wish everyone would do that. It would make a whole lot more sense than AEW's number one contendership stuff, uh, especially since they're not following a ranking system that makes any sense anyway.
Yeah.
But the so I like the tournament, but I'm right there with you. I'm just tournamented out. There's been we've seen what 7 tournaments in the last three
Since
months, four
July.
months.
Yeah. Since yeah. Yeah.
So
It's yeah. So I figured I'll watch. I think the finals are this Friday night if I'm not mistaken. So I'll end up watching those and we'll talk about that. But yeah, I just didn't want to keep watching the tournament. I just couldn't do it.
yeah, yeah, I get that. Definitely get that. It's just too much.
Yeah. So I mean, that's really all. I think that's really the big things that are going on right now. I mean, War Games, like I said, is tonight. So I'm not sure if we'll watch it tonight or I'll watch like a few matches each of the next couple of nights or something to get caught to watch it. But I'll probably watch at least watch that much because we're getting there's a strap match on there.
Jacob, you have to break it.
There's the two War Games matches and then there's a triple threat for the North American Championship. So.
Right. So
I
yeah,
don't, I don't, I don't think they've officially, unless they did it on social media. They might have done it on social media, but on the show at least, they did not officially announce Timothy Thatcher versus Tommaso Ciampa. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was added as the fifth match.
I'm actually this is one I'll actually watch. I might not watch the whole show, but I'll definitely watch the match. After last year's War Game match, I can't miss another one. I felt like that one was so good.
See, remember last year? That's one of the big things you and I disagreed on last year. Was I thought the women's match was great. You thought the men's match was great.
I love the men's match. I love just but anything that's got Pete Dunne in it, of course, I'm gonna love it.
Was he? Yeah, sorry, he was in last year's, wasn't he?
Yep.
No, remember last year's that my problem with it was mostly that we had seen the women's match first, and the women's match had already included like introduced all the weapons and stuff, and so to me the men's match is kind of just overkill to me. I wish they had done something different than the women had done. Um, but also they're kind of like talking about using tables and chairs and kendo sticks already this year, so I think we're in for more. What was that? What was that? What's that event in TNA? The Lethal Lockdown, where they've
Right.
got the weapons in there.
Yep.
So I think we're into more Lethal Lockdown stuff in these two matches, rather than it being the true traditional war games.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever been a fan of, and I don't know where that started. I don't ever remember WCW being obsessed with weapons in their War Games matches.
No, it started in TNA with Lethal Lockdown. I mean, I think like from time to time, like Tully or not Tully, but like JJ Dillon would maybe hand like brass knuckles or a chain into the Horseman, stuff like that. But otherwise, there really were not weapons in war games matches for the most part.
Yeah, I don't ever remember that. That was the thing about it. It was to
The
settle.
weapon was the weapon. The weapon was the cage.
Right. Yeah, and I mean that was the thing about having the War Games matches. It was just to get you or to get the um to pay off the feud.
Yep, exactly.
But yeah, that I mean, I really enjoyed last year's even with the weapons. I just there were so many spots in it that I liked that I thought it might have been one of the better ones I've seen though. Definitely beat out anything that they did in MLW.
Oh yeah, for sure. But that's not really saying much.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to tonight's show. Like I said, I doubt I'll watch it live tonight, but I will watch it over the next few days, and I'll probably watch everything on there just because I have been following along with what's been going on, and you know I like Cameron Grimes, so.
Oh, I do too. I've
So
always
I mean, I'm not sure that a strap match is going to really emphasize his talents, but you know, I don't mind him. I like that he's getting a spot on a pay-per-view.
well, and he's a guy that always deserved it. Even in Impact, you could see he had all kinds of talent.
Yeah, he's up against that Dexter Loomis guy, which is a guy that you and I never. When we saw him in NWA, we thought he was just horrible.
Is he still horrible?
Um, I think they found a character that fits him, so I don't think he's and I don't think he's as bad as you and I thought he was before. So I mean, I think he's kind of in that point where he's evolving to be a watchable character and not horrible. But I don't think he's anybody that's ever going to be one of my favorites.
Okay, that makes sense.
He's using that choke that Jack Swagger uses as his finisher.
Oh, okay.
And his big thing is he's got these piercing blue eyes that scare his opponents.
Oh, so he took over. And that's another one that just got ruined by the machine. They took Dominic Dijakovic and turned him into a joke.
Yeah, you told me that before, but I don't
Oh,
watch I don't watch the actual WWE show. So, but I don't think any member of his stable is part of Survivor Series, right?
no, because they're a joke.
Yeah,
Literally, I mean, they came out this big force and they were going to be the next big faction to come in. They announced Mustafa Ali as their leader, and then they went on to lose pretty much every match they've been in. So
but they're taking over.
yeah, I mean, and not it's not like they're losing. It's not like Nexus with John Cena. They're not losing to John Cena. They're losing to just average wrestlers.
Yeah, fun, very
So
fun. It just reeks of more Vince McMahon ADD, doesn't it?
yeah, I just don't know how they can do such a like Dijakovic and Keith Lee became two just because of their feud became just amazing in NXT. And then, they go up to the main roster and they're just nobodies.
Oh, I thought they were doing big stuff with Keith Lee.
Yeah, Keith Lee is I think he's I think he beat I
I
think
think
he
I think he I think he won a Survivor Series match this year. If I remember correctly.
yeah, I can't remember if
But but,
he's
but you know what they also made him change his finisher. He doesn't have the Big Bang catastrophe anymore.
oh because it was probably too painful and
Well, now he sets it up the same way, but instead of doing it into the power slam, he doesn't do a power bomb, and it's something else. I can't remember what they're calling it now. That was really bizarre and off-putting to me.
what was
Huh?
what was
That they changed his finisher.
oh yeah. You just took a drink of something, and I thought maybe it was your coffee that was off-putting.
Oh no, the coffee is good. It's a double chocolate coffee with the Reese's peanut butter cup creamer in it.
Oh, I found the cinnamon toast crunch creamer. That's my shit now.
Is it?
Yeah, I love that stuff.
Yeah. Well, creamer's where the taste is. Creamer's where the real coffee taste is. So.
It's definitely gotten that way for me. I put way too much creamer in my coffee.
Oh, I went to the this is as an aside for our just as a nice little story for our listeners. I went to the Bentleyville drive-through yesterday.
How was it? I heard that that was actually done well.
It's done well. However, they opened at 5. The gates open at 5, right?
Right?
I was in line at 3:55. By the time I actually was able to get through the gates, it was 6:30.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean that to me that's not an experience I would want to do again. If I had known I'd be in line that long, I never would have gone. Yeah.
I guess I'm just used to everything being online nowadays.
But 2.5 hours?
Yeah, that's a little crazy. Were you at least in line in your car so you could listen to the radio or something?
Well, yeah, it's all drive-through now, so you have to be in your car.
Yeah, so
Yeah, listen.
I'm watching Jacob play a Lego game, 'cause Arlo turned it on, and it's one of the most confusing things I've ever seen in my life. Some of the stuff he does.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think he's doing it out of boredom. He's just like, I don't know why I'm playing this. I'm just playing it. And
Oh,
so he'll like he'll like drive into a tree just for no apparent reason. Like it's not even like it's one of those things where like he'll be driving along the road perfectly fine, everything's going great, and he'll just take a hard left into a tree.
oh, that sounds like Michael Scott driving.
Yeah, it's not it's bizarre. It's just bizarre.
Well, we should let him get back to you so he's not so bored.
I don't know. It's just I've been watching him this whole time, and some of the stuff he's doing is just like literally just a hard left into a tree for no reason. There's absolutely no reason for it.
Maybe you shouldn't let him drive anymore.
Yeah, I'm starting to think he should have his license taken away after watching this.
All right. Anything else for this week?
I got nothing, man.
Yeah,
I
yeah, me
just
neither.
I think it's just been a slow few weeks, and I think the highlight was definitely the Kenny story. Um, I I was watching something, and I want to just kind of bring this because I watch these lists, especially the what culture stuff, a lot. And I was watching another one of those their countdown things, and
Okay.
they did this where they were talking about the greatest feuds, um,
Okay.
by era or by years since 1990, and of course, you know, it was Hogan and Ultimate Warrior 90, and you know, 97 was Bret Hart versus um, uh, Steve Austin, which I don't know
Okay.
if that was better than Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels.
I probably would have gone with. Um, did it have to be world title feuds? Because if not, I
No,
probably would have gone with. I probably would have gone with just Steve Austin versus the Hart Foundation that year.
yeah, or even Michaels versus Hart, I felt would have been a solid one too, because that probably the two best feuds in the 90s outside of the NWA, because they did have in 96 they had the NWO versus WCW.
And you know, if I mean, really, could wouldn't Sting versus the NWO have been bigger than either of those two?
That was such a horseshit payoff.
Yeah, well, so was the Brett Sean thing.
Yeah, but the Bret and Shawn thing led to more greatness. I mean, the Hogan Sting thing was just more of a um, horrible clusterfuck with a bad match because you had two guys who hadn't wrestled, or one guy who hadn't wrestled in over a year, and another guy who was hurt. And then it was more of them trying to recreate something that they couldn't pull off with the Bret Hart stuff. You know, they were trying to recreate the fast count, but Nick Patrick actually counted normal.
Yeah,
So it just the payoff was so bad. I mean, yeah, I would say that that was probably one of the better feuds. In '98, they had Austin McMahon, which is really hard to disagree with. But another one that came to my mind in '98 was Page versus Savage. That was a hell of a feud too.
Was that that was that 98 or 97?
I thought that was '98.
I thought it was 97. Yeah, so yeah, Page versus Savage would have been a tough one to disagree with, but also in '98, what about DX versus the Nation?
Yeah, they didn't have that on there. But they did, and then it took them till 2000 to have Triple H versus The Rock as a feud. Because they went in his countdown, he went back to back McMahon versus Austin, which that is really hard to disagree with in '98 and '99.
It seems like they're looking mostly at the top of the card if they're doing it that way because it seems like it's always they're only talking about like the main eventers really in these things they're talking about because to me the Nation versus DX was a feud that dominated 1998 in WWE.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I thought that was probably. I mean,
And we also got the start of Austin versus The Rock that year too. But really it was more like Mick Foley. Mick Foley was involved in that as well. You know.
yeah, and they had Foley versus Orton in '05 as another one that was a big the feud of the year. They had
It lasted like 2 months. How could it be the feud of the year? I don't know. I guess I don't think of the same way things the same way these people
yeah,
do.
it's I think the way and it was Simon Miller. I usually like his countdowns, but
Hmm.
this one had some stuff that I just went, huh? And I get where he's coming from. Yeah, it's his list. You know that's the thing about lists is you make your list. It's your opinion. So that's his opinion. But it was something that I really wanted to kind of debate, just because it had a few parts of it that were um, weird to me. Like why
The one
was
thing one thing I really liked on the one that you had me watch the top pay-per-views of the last 30 years
yeah
was when he said when he was like he's like I know you don't agree with me. It's my list. So I mean you can tell me to shut my bald mouth, but I'm not going to because it's my list and also it's not my mouth that's bald, it's my head.
right? Yeah, he cracks me up every time he does these videos. He cracks me up. But
Yeah.
he had and where I was going with this is he had the feud of the. I mean he and of course he had Ciampa versus Gargano in 17. He had Cole versus Gargano in 18. He had Sasha Banks versus Bailey in but in
Wait, what did you
16.
have? What would you say you had in 18?
I think it was Gargano Cole.
That
Or
would have been 19.
okay, then it was Champa Gargano in 18.
Okay, I guess that's fair.
And then so it must have been 17 that was Sasha Banks and oh yeah, because
And Bailey.
2016 was Cena versus AJ
Okay.
was his feud and but his 2020 feud was Page versus Omega.
Really?
And I'm trying to think now he did have some Japanese feuds in there.
I mean, how
Um,
could it be Page versus Omega? They've only had one match.
yeah, and that's what I was were they ever really at odds? I mean, they were a tag team and best friends there for damn near half the year.
Yeah, that's weird.
It just it that one kind of sat wrong with me. I mean, maybe it'll turn into a feud in 2021, but as far as 2020, I know it was a messed up year because of COVID, but you don't think that the Sammy Tessa feud was better than that?
I would say
Or
Elgin,
Evil?
ver- Elgin, Elgin, Elgin Edwards or Evil versus Naito would probably
Yeah,
be where I'd go.
I probably would go Evil versus Naito just because of the fact that they um, cemented a story that started 3 years ago in one tournament.
Right.
And then they've been feuding ever since. But I just when I look at that list, it can't be Page versus Omega.
Yeah, if it was storyline, Page versus Omega probably would have worked, but not for a feud.
No, because they're and we even commented that they had their big blow off match, and it didn't feel like a big deal. It didn't feel
Well,
like they
it was a great match, but it didn't feel like a lot of bad blood between the two of them.
right exactly. It just felt like two guys that were going out there. They're friends, but they're going their separate ways. Kind of like an Edwards Richards type thing
Yeah.
when the Edwards Richard feud initially started. It was just them wanting to see who was the better guy.
Yeah, that's probably the thing on there that I would strongly disagree with it, even because it isn't even a feud.
No, no, and like you said, I mean, we got Naito Evil that I'd probably go with. I think, uh,
The elite versus inner circle, even.
yep, that was a good feud. Even Sammy versus Matt was a better feud because that was an actual feud.
Yeah, and even though I don't watch the product, probably Orton versus um,
McIntyre.
McIntyre.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. From what I understand, that was a pretty good feud too.
yeah. So
Pat McAfee versus Adam Cole. I you
yeah,
took
we haven't gotten the payoff for that yet, but yeah, definitely that would be up there for me too.
because I mean that took one of the most hated villains in the company and made him a face in a couple of weeks.
And it also gave main events. It also gave main media spotlight to NXT brand as well.
Right, exactly. So yeah, I wanted to hear what your thoughts were because I didn't that one kind of sat wrong. I mean, there were a few others in there that were just like, what, really? But I couldn't really think of anything better. It's hard to argue McMahon Austin, even though there was so much other like Sting versus the NWO that was a year-long feud. And then same thing with Page versus Savage was a hell of a feud. There was just a lot of good feuds in that couple
Yeah, the
years.
I personally don't like the Gargano Cole one just because I didn't like I didn't like the matches. But
Oh,
it's hard to argue the the bad blood of the feud though, I suppose.
well, I'm
Yeah.
trying to think in 2019, what other feud would there have been? Arlo, can you come put away these markers before your cat loses them all? I asked you to do that earlier.
Um, I don't know the I guess the Bucks versus Lucha Brothers maybe would fit there. Yeah, that's tough. Sammy versus I probably would put Sammy versus Tessa there. Actually, not in 2020. They only had the one match in
Oh,
2020.
that's right, they did. They only had.
Um,
Or how about and I know it's he's really Simon Miller's really limited on the
Briscoes versus God.
yeah, and I know Sammy's really or Simon and What Culture they're really limited. They don't watch like MLW and things like that. But um that faction that Jacob Fatu was in,
Yeah,
um
Contra.
them against Contra Unit against anybody in what was that 2018?
It was nine. It was no, it was 19.
Was it 19? Okay, yeah. So I
Yeah,
mean that the Contra versus um you know Team Filthy with Lawler and Von Erichs was a hell of a good feud.
yeah, it was.
So I mean there was a lot of good feuds out there.
Yeah, I
The
just
North
I
versus the Rascals
yeah
was another good one.
yeah. I mean, I totally understand him going with Gargano versus Cole. I just would have a hard time calling that my feud of the year just because I didn't like it.
Yeah,
You know.
and I like the matches. I mean, I thought they were all classics. I loved every
Yeah, I
one of
mean,
the matches.
yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's really a hard thing to argue against, just because of how much the high match quality in a lot of people's eyes, the bad blood between the two of them, that they were fighting over the world title, and they ended up being the first two to ever be the triple crown winners. I mean, it's there's a lot of pieces there that make it hard to argue against. It's just not something that I personally would be able to argue for.
Well, yeah, and that's the same as like in 97, 98. It's hard to argue against McMahon Austin because you just look at the numbers and that was it. But, there's still so many other feuds out there that you can consider.
Yeah,
I wish that when he does these lists, like I like the fact that he does them, but I wish during his spiel he would give like the other close ones or the other runner up or something like that, uh,
yeah,
so that you could actually see his thought process a little bit more.
yeah. I think he does occasionally do that, but yeah, I mean, I think he should. I think if he did it more often, then he would see why he would choose that over that. But I'm just saying that for my personal tastes, Gargano versus Cole wouldn't be there. But I do understand why a lot of people would have picked that, including him.
Yeah, there were a lot in 2019 that could have gone there, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
Oh, actually, now that I think about it, now that I've got a couple more minutes to think about it, 2019, I would have gone with Naito versus Ibushi.
Oh God, that is a hard one. Or White versus Okada.
Yeah, for me, it's personally it's Naito versus Ibushi.
I suppose
I mean, if it was Okada, I'd probably go with Okada versus Sonata.
yeah, I guess you're right because White versus Okada was pretty much the end of 18,
Yeah,
and they had their blow off on at Wrestle Kingdom, and then Okada spent the first half of the year with pink hair and giving out balloons.
yeah. Whereas Okada versus Sonata, Okada beat him in the finals of New Japan Cup, beat him, in his first defense after winning the title back from Jay White. Um, Lost to him in the G1, and then beat him again at um, King of Pro Wrestling, and then at the end of the match, said, "Let's do it again at Wrestle Kingdom." You know,
Right.
and let's do it again someday at Wrestle Kingdom. So I mean, to me, that was like really a big feud between the two, and all four of the matches were 5-star matches.
Yeah, that is
It's
true.
it. So I mean, those two, I guess to me now that I had a little more time to think about it, those would be the two that stand out to me in 2019. Our Naito versus Ibushi, because those guys beat the shit out of each other so bad that you and I both said,
Don't wrestle again.
I'm not sure I ever want to see you guys in the ring against
Yeah,
each other.
I remember after that last one that there were so many um uh the spots that they did on the apron that I was just
Yeah,
like, guys, come on, no more.
yeah,
Do not let
exactly.
these two wrestle again. Um,
Well, we're gonna get them again at Wrestle Kingdom, so
well, all right, good, it's fine. But
it's been over a year now, though. So
that you're right. That was a hell of a good feud too.
yeah,
Oh, and uh, I was reading somewhere something about um, and I don't know where I was reading it, but didn't Ibushi sign a lifetime contract with NJPW?
well, he signed a contract and he said and he stated he would never wrestle for another promotion again. But I'm not sure the actual contract is written as a lifetime contract.
Okay, because I was reading somewhere, and I know it's crap because I could have swore it was like a lifetime contract, but they were saying talking about how a reuniting of the Golden Lovers in AEW with Ibushi coming
No.
over, but I think if that was going to happen, that would have happened in 2018 when they started AEW.
Yeah, the only way that's going to happen is if they actually come into get a working agreement between the two of them.
Right.
It's not going to happen with Ibushi actually signing with AEW.
Yeah, and I for some reason I was under the impression it was a lifetime contract he signed. Kind of like Bret
Yeah,
Hart's lifetime contract that lasted 6 months.
I don't remember it being announced that way, but I could be wrong. I know that was definitely the impression that was given. That he said he was never going to wrestle for another promotion,
Okay.
but I don't know that the actual contract was lifetime.
Yeah.
So,
Either way, it's not going to happen. He's not coming to AEW. So anybody who's thinking that, stop. Just stop. Stop thinking it.
are we going to try to do the live watch along this week?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I won't have kids, so it'll go a
You
little
know
bit
what? I might
easier.
not be able to because I just realized my wife has Wednesday night off this week, so I mean I'll have to
Oh,
touch base with you on that.
yeah. Let me know. We can
All right.
do it whenever. So,
Okay.
I'm kind of interested though to see how this Impact AEW stuff works out. But man, if we can get a cross working promotion and them actually putting together matches, there's such a long list of matches I want to see.
Actually, might work out better for me not to watch it live because then I'll be able to watch Impact and then watch
Right.
Dynamite.
But it's this working relationship. It'll just be great.
It will. Yeah. I mean,
Absolutely outstanding.
yeah. I think that's really a cool thing they're doing.
Oh man, Eddie Edwards versus Kenny Omega. Oh my God,
I'm thinking more like Eddie versus MJF.
that would be great too. Jesus, Eddie versus Sammy would be a that contrast, and Sammy works so well with everybody.
Oh, you're talking about Guevara. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm like, we've already seen Eddie Edwards versus Sammy Callahan. What are you talking
Oh
about?
my God, Sammy Callahan versus uh, Matt Hardy would be a fun one, but because I don't think we ever saw that, did we? Matt was gone from Impact by the time Sammy got there.
Yeah, you're right. We never got that.
But a broken Matt against Sammy would be just incredible on the mic.
Yeah, I agree.
Jericho versus Ken Shamrock.
Okay,
Let the two old guys duke it out.
sure. All right,
I had to throw just one bad one in there.
I got to get going.
All right,
So,
I'll talk to you.
all right,
Yeah,
that's all we
okay.
got. We'll try to do
Guys,
better next time.
yeah, and please hit a like button, hit the subscribe button, ring notification bell. Check out our Twitters. I'm Regi Co-op. He's at Zanman, LOP, and of course our Patreon, patreon.com/Kingdom of Honor.
And make sure to listen to the other LP radio shows around here. Um, till next time, that's all we've got. We'll try to do better next time. This is Shane saying long days, pleasant nights. And Jeff's going to just say something really boring.
Wow. Goodbye, everyone.
Told you.